What if I told you that you only need to change one thing and it can make the difference between 0 views and hundreds or even thousands of views? Would you do it? Maybe you're wondering right now, what could that one thing be? It is thumbnails. Because if you're somewhat similar to how I used to be, your process is probably something like this. You have an idea, grab your camera, film the video, edit the video, upload it to YouTube, and then realize, oh whoops, I need a title and a thumbnail. So you quickly come up with a somewhat okay title, throw something together in Photoshop for the thumbnail, upload the whole thing and wait for the clicks, because after all, you made a good video, right? People will surely watch it. To be honest, this is a very self-centered way of making YouTube videos. You know you made a good video, but your potential viewers don't know that yet. The only thing they see are your title and your thumbnail. And depending on where your video is recommended on the platform, your thumbnail is just 1 out of 8 or 1 out of 12, or even many more other videos that are being suggested to a viewer. So how do we get a potential viewer to actually click on your video and not one of the many others? In this video, I'll show you 7 hacks to instantly improve your thumbnails and significantly increase your views. Some of the world's biggest YouTubers intentionally use very vibrant colors in their thumbnails because clearly one of the easiest ways to stand out of the crowd is to attract attention with colors. It is no coincidence that Mr. Beast in this video places someone in a red circle on a green field. Not only are both colors very vibrant, but they are also complementary colors, meaning they are directly opposite each other on the color wheel and create a high color contrast. But even someone like Revi uses this technique in his thumbnail with vibrant blue, green, orange and red. However, using vibrant colors doesn't mean simply cranking up the saturation slider to the maximum. Especially your skin tones should remain as natural as possible and not drift into vibrant orange.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So I would recommend working with elements that are naturally vibrant, like a colorful sweater, rather than increasing the saturation through image editing. So if you use text on your thumbnails, make sure to use at best only 3, but at most 4 to 5 words. Don't write a mini novel on your thumbnail. Your viewers will see the thumbnail very small and they will only glance at each thumbnail for a few seconds, which should be enough to read the text completely. Also, make sure your text is readable. Choose a bold font and a font color with surprisingly high color contrast to the background. I would also recommend using a sans serif font. These are fonts with serifs. They were designed for print to be readable in long texts such as books. These are sans serif fonts. They were designed to be more readable on screens. So unless you are planning to print your thumbnail in a newspaper, use a sans serif font. However, you don't necessarily have to use text. I've been fixated on having text on every thumbnail for years, and honestly, many of my old thumbnails weren't that great because of it. Text takes up a lot of space that could be used differently. A picture is worth 1,000 words is a damn cliche, but it is very true. If you can convey the same information visually without text, it's always better to do so. Keep it simple. Most thumbnails on YouTube are way too complex. As I mentioned earlier, a viewer will only glance at your thumbnail as one of many for a few seconds. So if your thumbnail is overly complex and confusing during those few seconds, they will scroll past it. A big mistake in many of my old thumbnails was that the backgrounds were way too busy and distracted from the actual content of the thumbnail. But even the main content of your thumbnail should not be too complex. A good rule of thumb is to have a maximum of 3 main elements in the thumbnail. In this thumbnail by Mr. Who's the Boss, one element could be Aaron himself, the second element is his text, and the third element is Tim Cook. Since we're already talking about this example from Mr. Who's the Boss, it's also the perfect example of a technique I call famous hacking. Because even if someone doesn't know Aaron and isn't interested in a thumbnail with his face on it, we all know Apple, and probably Tim Cook as well. So even if we're not interested in Aaron himself, we might click on the video because we're interested in Apple. And this technique of borrowing something that is already famous can be applied to anything, whether it's a famous person on the thumbnail, a product, a brand, or another successful YouTuber, just as I did in this video, for example, with Casey Neistat. Okay, this tip is pretty simple, but avoid putting important elements in the bottom right corner of your thumbnail. Simply, that's because where the video length is displayed and laid over your thumbnail. So if you have the most important part of your thumbnail right there, well, no one can see it. This trick is another one that I got wrong for far too long, but upload your thumbnails in the correct size. I actually uploaded too many of my thumbnails in full HD, which is 1920 by 1080 pixels, because I thought it's better to be too big than too small. However, the optimal size for uploading thumbnails is 1280 by 720 pixels. If you upload at a larger size, YouTube automatically scales your images down, and I have no idea what they do when scaling, but the downscaled images often look very pixelated, which is a shame if you put a lot of effort into a thumbnail and YouTube turns it into a pixelated mess. Now, you might think, why not just clickbait with the title and the thumbnail? Put some boobs on the thumbnail and everyone will surely click it. Well, it's not that simple, because clickbaiting actually harms your channel. In fact, YouTube will only continue to recommend your video to more people if the people who click on your video actually also watch it. So how do we get people to actually watch our video? The most important thing for that is good storytelling.
Story is king.
And the YouTuber with the best storytelling in the world is undoubtedly Casey Neistat. I took a closer look at how he does it and identified 3 principles that I'll share with you in this video.